Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. So excuse me while I move this microphone. I'm quite pregnant and I can't actually reach it with my stomach in front of the podium, so you wouldn't be able to hear me. So on behalf of the New York Association of Training and Employment Professionals and the Center for an Urban Future, we'd like to welcome you to Integrating New York's REDCs with Workforce Development. As the state's Workforce Development Association, we care deeply about ensuring that education, training, and employment services are adequately resourced, effective, and aligned with economic development. Based on what our membership sees every day, we know that there are many, many job seekers who are just one skill set away from economic self-sufficiency. And we also know that many of our business customers who are coming through our career centers are in desperate need of workers, specifically as the economy and the local economies have recovered statewide. So we're thrilled to partner with CUF. This is our third event. Is it our third or fourth? Where we're bringing critical issues to the field. And I'm thrilled to welcome Jonathan up to introduce the Lieutenant Governor. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Melinda, and good afternoon, everyone. It's really great to be here. As Melinda said, we've been coming up a couple times a year to do policy events on some of the key issues facing New York, and usually we're here in January, and it's a little different outside, so it's great to be here. It's also, the vibe is a little different because usually in January, everything's just heating up. It's the beginning of session, and here we are with a lot of exciting things happening, but at the end of session. That's a different feeling, but I'm really excited about this event today. So I'm Jonathan Bowles. I run the Center for an Urban Future, which is a independent think tank based in New York City that focuses on growing New York's economy and expanding economic opportunity. And so generally, we write studies, publish studies that's looking at how do you create jobs, how do you strengthen New York's economy, but also, just as importantly, focusing on how do you build skills so that so many New Yorkers can actually take advantage of the rising prosperity, the jobs that are being created in the state. Our dual focus on economic development and workforce development is really what so interested us in this topic today. And I think that we all know that the REDCs have become this powerful new framework for economic development in New York State. I think that given that so many employers across the state are struggling to find the employees they need, we really wanted to kind of pose the question of, can the REDCs also become a major force or a more important force when it comes to workforce development and helping build the skills in New York? So, given the topic today, I can't think of a better keynote speaker. Kathy Hochul is the 77th Lieutenant Governor in New York State. We are so pleased to have her here today. I can't even recite in the time that I have all of the things that really are included in her job and all the great work she does around the state every single week. But a big part of it is chairing the state's regional economic development councils. And under her watch, the REDCs have become a national model for bottom-up economic development and a catalyst for economic growth in really every corner of New York State. In her work, she's shown a passion for both job creation and also addressing the skills gap. She's served in Congress, she's been a county clerk in Erie County, and most recently, she's been a fantastic Lieutenant Governor in New York State. Please join me in welcoming Kathy Hochul.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're all looking rather chipper. This is from someone who started the morning in Buffalo, gave a speech in New York, and here I am in Albany. So if I'm a little fatigued, the day's about a third over for us. So as Jonathan says, we have a lot of territory to cover, but it is a privilege. It is a privilege to be Lieutenant Governor for Andrew Cuomo, particularly given the incredible successes that we're going to be talking about here today. But Jonathan, I want to thank you for the incredible work you do at the Center for an Urban Future, because first of all, I love the title. The Center of the Future, the future of urban centers is so critically important to all of us. And urban can be as large as New York City or a tiny little downtown here in upstate New York, but people are gravitating back to the centers of their communities, and that's an amazing transformation from when I was a young person, when the American dream was living out in the suburbs with a picket fence and two-car garage, and now people are rediscovering the downtowns. And I spent a lot of time here in Albany, and I find when I get tired of being in the Capitol, I wander around the neighborhoods and get to know the people here. So I see so much going on all over this great state, and it's great to have you doing it. Melinda, it's not our first encounter together. Buffalo girl, right? We talk about the Buffalo Bills, and we have some great conversations, but I've spoken at your conferences before, but thank you for the amazing work you do to keep us laser focused on the issues that help people, particularly people in need, find workforce opportunities. And Winston, you are a rock star in New York City, and we're glad to have your talents as a newer co-chair of one of the regional councils, adding a new, fresh look at the issues that have been before us. And really, that fresh look is so important because it's your conversation that we've had with yourself and Kathy Wild and others that really brought us to some place like that we said. How can the regional councils really be even more integrated into workforce development? And so a lot of people listen to that conversation. And so thank you for for focusing us on this for the next few years while we're undertaking the regional council efforts. Dr. Jones, it's good to see one of my co-chairs here as well, and thank you for what you do for all of us and making sure that the Capital Region is well represented out there in the competition, so we really appreciate that. You heard Jonathan touch a little bit on the genesis of the Regional Economic Development Councils, and for those of you who are on one, you live and breathe this. It's when you said yes 5 years ago to the governor, you probably didn't know exactly what you're getting into, but it's been a major commitment, but one where you are part of transforming the future of New York State, and that is not an overstatement. And so I just want to give just a little background on why it is so important that we have turned upside down the delivery of economic development dollars in the state of New York. First of all, because the governor would say for decades, New York City has always been the epicenter. That's great. But the rest of upstate New York was rather forgotten and suffered from benign neglect because really the political cloud has been New York City. That's where the population is. There's more representatives from New York City in our state's capital than anywhere else. And so he said, let's continue to focus on New York City as a huge job generator for us, but let's not ignore the rest of the state, where lesser population lives, but more geography and more communities in higher need. And so he said, let's not just continue this, spread all the economic development dollars around based on political clout or based on equality where everybody gets, you open up a jar of peanut butter and you spread it around real thin so everybody at least gets a little bit. Well, that never makes a really good sandwich when you do it that way. You have to be strategic in how you spend your money and where the dollars are most needed and where they'll make the difference. And so he decided, and this is based on his experience as Secretary of HUD, where he did this at the national level. How do you bring together the best and the brightest of a region and redefine a region? And that was the first start. When you talk about governments, I was a county official, I was a town official. I assure you there was no opportunity, no reason for any of us to ever collaborate across county lines. It just didn't happen. I was from Erie County, if something good was going on in Niagara County, it was like, well, that means it's not good for Erie County. This is a zero-sum game was the mentality of elected officials for a long time. So when the governor put together the framework for the regional councils, he brought together contiguous counties in a region that had similar assets. And for the first time, people started thinking of themselves as beyond their own territory and thinking about the assets of an entire region and the incredible strength that is behind that you can all benefit from each other, because I assure you, when I'm talking to a business like I did this morning at 10 o'clock in New York City, a biotech business, saying their headquarters are in Chicago, of course I always say, what's the matter with you? Why aren't you in New York State? He won't care whether he's in Albany County or Schenectady. He won't care if he's in Hudson area. He won't care. He doesn't care. He just wants to come to New York. So when we stop fighting among ourselves, we can put our best feet forward, and make sure that we are offering the most competitive package. So that was also part of it. Get regions to work together, identify your strengths, but who does this? The governor brought together the top leaders in academia. So we often have a college university president at the helm. That's pretty much the template, which has been incredible because of the role they play in helping with research dollars and finding opportunities for a synergy to be created. But also someone who's really well known and respected in the business community. And in my neck of the woods, that was Howard Zemsky, who was tasked with, because of the work he had done, helping bring back Buffalo with the governor, that he was now been asked to be the head of economic development, Empire State Development for the entire state. So he brings together people from academia, people from business, not-for-profits, labor, and government, and makes them all work together in a competitive fashion, which I think, I agree with him, that the competition really pulls out the best in people. That competitive spirit gets people to put together the best ideas forward. So let's just talk about where we've gone overall with the regional councils. Since the governor's been elected and started these, we've had $4.1 billion invested by the state throughout New York State in projects all over. We've had, I think that's leveraging about, what was it, Jeff? I forgot my notes here. How much did that leverage? I have it here. 22 billion. Who would have thought 22 billion? 4,100 projects and over 200,000 new jobs. Now, I'm going to stop right there and say that is all the good news. The good news is that the jobs are coming back. Okay, and I'm from Buffalo, like I said. We lost huge industries like Bethlehem Steel, 20,000 jobs gone almost overnight. I was in Rochester yesterday. Kodak's gone, 60,000 jobs almost. I mean, areas like that are crushed when a big industry leaves. And we, in upstate, at least my part of the state, we never figured out plan B, where we're going with this. So the jobs are just going away. So something like skills for jobs, it wasn't really relevant when you have no jobs to fill. So the consequence of us now creating jobs and reducing unemployment from what it was when the governor was elected and getting our economy under control and people want to come here, now we have an interesting challenge. And something I hear about in every single community I go to, from the North Country to the far reaches of Long Island. Employers no longer complain to me and say, oh, New York the taxes are too high, because they can't. The taxes are as low as they've been in my lifetime and beyond. So taxes are down. And they no longer say that we're being crushed by regulations. Yes, there are still some in place that people don't like, but the governor has really wrestled with this issue and tried to remove barriers to industry's growth, and he's been successful. So we took away two of the big knocks on New York that the governor would admit were well-deserved. That era is over. The number one issue I hear from businesses is I can't find the workers with the skills I need for the jobs I'm bringing. I hear it everywhere, every single part of the state. Now, like I said, my optimist side says, well, at least we have jobs to fill compared to what we used to have, when unemployment was almost 9% just 5 years ago. So we're in a better place. But that is the challenge that we all face today, and the people in this room are going to figure out for us. Okay, that's what I'm putting on you. We've got tremendous resources at the state level already being allocated toward this, from the Department of Labor to our state workforce investment boards. I also co-chair or chair that. We've got plans in place, and the regional councils have been involved in this. But this is the year we're upping the game. So in round 6, we are actually encouraging and have asked each of the regions to put forward their workforce investment plan based on not just random ideas, but based on the industry clusters that they have identified as part of their strategic plan for their area, that where the jobs they think are going to be coming to the area. So it's either the existing jobs that are going unfilled where people need skills, but also what's the big game we're going after? What business are we trying to lure here? For example, in Western New York, one of our industry clusters, in addition to tourism, we happen to be 20 minutes from Niagara Falls, but also one of the industry clusters is biomed, biotech. So we know we're going to be working to bring those jobs there. In fact, we've been very successful at that. The Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus is doing unbelievably well. They're going to have over 10,000 jobs. Employers are begging for people with the skills they need. Now, what kind of skills do they need? I always say this. What do you need? Tell me what you need. I talk to the HR people. What skills, what kind of positions are we looking for? Everything from entry-level technicians all the way up to PhDs and engineers. I mean, we run the gamut. Now, the good news for us is that the state of New York is number one in the East Coast, the entire East Coast, for producing graduates with STEM degrees. That's a good number. We've had 87 out of 100 so Nobel Prize winners come out of New York State. We've got a lot of smart people, we got the finest university system, not just in the country, but I'll submit on the planet. So we've got great resources there with our universities. So we've got smart people great institutions, people learning, going into the degrees, but I still think we should do a lot more with the STEM degrees. But we've got all the right ingredients. The right ingredients are out there, more so than other states. What's holding us back? Now, a year ago or a year and a half ago, when the regional councils got together and were charged with their new directive, it was in addition to getting finding projects to fund, they were tasked with helping people that are in hard-to-place positions, hard-to-place individuals. For example, people who are recently incarcerated, people where English is not the first language, people with disabilities, people who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. So the regional councils have been focused on this. This year, we're going to layer on top of that, asking each of the regions to come up with the game plan to address the whole workforce development issue in their region. And we're going to be funding projects that come up with the best ideas on exactly how to do that. And what I get to do in my position is I travel all over the state. I get to see the most successful stories. I get to talk to people who've been in a program like Perscolis, and I talk to someone whose life has literally been transformed by the fact that they found their way through that door and were able to take advantage of training and opportunities. So I know what's working, and I know it has to occur as well. We need to get a closer integration between what the skills that employers are looking for and what the local colleges are offering. And so one of my other titles, I have a lot of titles these days, I'm also chair of the community college councils. So interesting that my job is chair of the workforce development, community colleges, and the regional economic development councils. It all comes together. It all comes together. I get to see the intersection of all these opportunities that we still can tap into more than we already are. So when I go around to the community councils, community college councils, I assemble the presidents and the trustees, and we're all sitting around a table, and I say to them, when was the last time you had a conversation with the largest employers in your area and asked them, not what skills they need today, but what skills are you going to need in 2 to 3 years? And we'll start training them. We can turn on a dime. Tell us what skills you could use, and we'll help you out with that. And I say to them, if there's a barrier at the state level, if something's taking too long to get approved here, let me know. I'll make a call. I'll break down some doors because we don't have time. We do not have time. We've got to figure this out because as I've said as I travel, we have the opportunity here because of what the governor put in place, the programs that we know are working, the opportunities we have coming together, the minds in this room that can help us figure it out strategically. We have the ability to tell the rest of the nation that if you come to New York State, if you invest with us, we will offer you the most highly skilled workforce in America. Now, I throw that out there because I believe we can do that. I believe we can do that because we have to be responsive to what the employers want, not continue educating people in fields where we just have always done so without regard for how technology has changed and what people are looking for. And if we have those conversations with the employers, they're the ones who are thinking about what's the future. The speech I gave this morning at 10 a.m. was to cut the ribbon for New York State MedTech Week. First time we've ever done this. We had over 1,000 businesses from all over the East Coast. And you know how competitive I am. I wanted to get every single one of them and tell them why they have to come to New York. But we talked about the Startup New York initiative and how that can be a game changer for luring businesses here. But I also know that what they're talking about, when I read through their program, I didn't even know the language they're talking about. They're talking about Uber-style medical device technology to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, who's training the young people already in this field? That's what I want to know. That's how we get ahead of the game. We are ahead of them because we're on equal par with the industry and where their industries are going. See what I'm saying here? This is how we are smart. We outsmart everybody. So then I can say to them, oh, you need someone with this particular skill? Well, guess what? One of my colleges already teaches this. One of my universities already does. You can get a certification in this. This is how we beat the competition. In my judgment, the competition is the rest of the world, not just the other 49 states, because we're all going after the same smart young people, the same entrepreneurs, the same innovators who are coming up with the next great thing, and I want them right here in the state of New York. And with your help, we're going to be able to make that happen. So I can't wait for this conversation to occur. I'm going to have Jeff Lewis, who runs my New York City operations. Many of you know him. If you don't, get to know him. He was with me in Congress, and he knows where the bodies are buried, so be nice to Jeff. But he is someone who has worked on this issue for me for a long time as well. And so I'm going to have him stay here while I go give an award from the governor to one of our top teachers in the state very shortly, which is a privilege. It's a secret until we walk into the classroom. I get to walk in. It's like one of those publisher clearinghouse. I walk in with a $5,000 check. So it's cute. So that's when I make somebody happy and the rest of them not happy. But I do believe we can do this. Yeah, we do have that the shortage of middle skills workers. We have 350,000 jobs going unfilled. We have challenge, but I just want to reinforce, these are good problems to have, because that means the jobs have found their way to New York State, and we're keeping them here, and we are becoming the industry leader in so many areas. And I want to just continue, because we'll never in the state of New York rest on our laurels. We're always going to continue pushing ourselves to be the best there are, the best we can be, because we are New Yorkers. And I want to thank all of you for giving your talents today and having the conversations that we're going to pull from to help us find our way through these challenges in a very interesting future. So thank you very much for having me.
All right, everyone, Lieutenant Governor Hochul.